second. All right. All right, guys, let's get started. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. If you're new here, my name is Mitchell. In today's episode, I'll be talking about how to get your ex back. I do these YouTube lives every Saturday at 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. I won't be doing one next week, though, unfortunately, but I'm only going to skip a week. Anyways, let's go to a recap episode that I'll be talking about today that is correlated to what we're going to be talking about today. So if you guys are ever interested in ever going back to my previous videos, this is one of them. Okay, so the episode is called Freedom is Vital to Love and Attraction. And the slide is on freedom leads to monogamy. Okay, freedom. What does that mean, right? What does freedom mean and how does it lead to monogamy? It shows that you have strength. It shows that you're able to let them be who they are and without being too clingy or being a little bit too needy. And this is how you display strength, right? And once you display the strength, you're easygoing, right? You're easy to get along with. You're fun. Eventually you guys are gonna get along. You guys are gonna have a lot of fun, and you're gonna hang out, have fun, and y'all gonna hook up. Okay, unless you're religious, then maybe you do it on your wedding night. So anyways, you're not only going to have a great time, but you're also showing strength that, hey, you know what, I have my own individuality too. Like, I have my own life to live. I love that you're part of my life, but you are not my entire life, especially as a man. And if you're a man and you're the masculine man in the relationship, you should always allow your lady to have freedom, because so many girls out there, or so many women out there, are so used to guys constantly bombarding them, texting them, hey, right? And I don't blame them, because they watch one too many movies, and usually it's always the guy constantly bombarding them like, hey, I need to do something in order to not lose this person, right? I mean, you've seen it in all those romantic comedies or just romance. They always have to feel like they have to do something. Anyways, mental strength. It shows a lot of mental strength by allowing her to be doing her own thing. And just like a muscle that you train, it is a very attractive trait that you could display. And on top of that, let me see if I can read that in Chinese. Something Hon 中国人 I can't something. I don't know. I can't read that. My bad. I thought I could. That was a test. What's up, Rusilla? Okay, so it shows a lot of mental strength. Let me go back to this. It's very attractive. You're displaying a lot of emotional capacity. So emotional capacity is a measure of your ability to overcome limiting beliefs. You ease in adapting to challenging situations, and the quality of your relationships. Your attraction is measured by your strength and how much emotional self-control you have. So your main focus in any type of courtship and dating is to hang out, have fun, and hook up. And like I said, if you're religious and you only do it after marriage, by all means, you do it on your wedding night or do it after, right? As long as it's after. Now, main thing is leaving the dating labels for her, meaning that it is feminine energy. So if you're in a heterosexual relationship, the masculine man and a feminine woman, the guy doesn't really have to worry too much about being in a relationship. You don't have to worry about locking her down. All you have to do is just show that you're a fun and easygoing person to be around with. You make her feel comfortable. You make her feel heard. You make her feel understood. You care about it. It's like all these things are very attractive to her. And then on top of that, you allow her time and space away from you. And it's necessary for them to have time and space away from you to think about you, to wonder about you, so that she can miss you a little bit. And it's always better. It is always better if she likes you more than you like her as a guy. Now, that's for heterosexual relationships. If you're in a gay or lesbian relationship, the same thing goes. There's two different type of energy. There's a masculine energy and there's a feminine energy. It doesn't matter. As long as if you know you're in a more masculine, well, then you should stay within that realm of being masculine. So what is masculinity? Masculinity is cool. It's calm. It's collected. You have a focus. You have a mission in life. You're overcoming challenges. You break through barriers, right? You're the rock in the ocean. So it shows a lot of strength if you could display those type of behavior. But India is different. How so? What do you mean by that? Okay, now, feminine energy is about bonding. It's about connecting. It's about creativity. Just think about like creating just having a baby. That's creation, right? You're creating things. It's relationship. It's relationship labels. It's bonding. So it's all about trying to get the masculine energy's attention. That's what feminine energy is. And then once that happens, masculine energy reciprocates. So it's very important to understand that there's different phases in a relationship. So what they always talk about, I hear this so many times. I always hear guys like, well, if masculine energy is pursuit, well, why do you allow masculine energy, or why do you allow her to pursue you more later on? It's like, well, you're showing a lot of confidence when you walk up to her. Number one most attractive thing to a woman is confidence. So yes, you do have to show some sort of confidence that you could present yourself. You show your interest, you let them know, and then you just reciprocate. And then all you have to do is allow her to come to you more often than not. Because number one most important thing is, if she's trying to get your attention, she's not trying to get rid of you. You know what I mean? And it's always better to be in that situation, because that's where feminine energy flourishes. But so many times guys, they feel like, oh, I have to do something in order to get her attention because she's giving me less attention. It's like she wants more time and space away from you. She needs more time. And it's like, there's steps to this. And if you don't understand there's different steps and different phases, then it's easy to get kind of mixed up. So it's really important to start paying attention and understand, like, yes, if you are masculine energy, how do I lead this relationship? How do I lead this? Right? So for all relationships, it is better to be single, of course, than to be unseen or unheard, because nobody wants to be in a relationship where you can't communicate well. So what does that mean? It means that you have to build up your communication. How are you going to communicate with your people? Whether it's with yourself or with the other person, how well do you know how to communicate? And are you emotional? So signs of low emotional intelligence is being argumentative, right? Not listening, blaming others, losing your shit. And I love how my coach said this, Coach Corey Wayne. He said that men who understands women don't argue with them. You just don't argue with women. There's no point. If you argue with women and you're yelling and screaming, behind anger is always fear. So something you're fearful of. And that displays a lot of weak behavior. Even though you might win that argument, like you could logically win that argument verbally, but what are you really displaying? You're showing her a side of you that's very incongruent to what she thinks you were. All right. Now, the meat of the topic, I have 4 slides that I'm going to be talking to you about today, which is how to get your ex back. And the slide number 1 is what not to do. What not to do. In most breakups, especially if you were the one that got dumped, what you want to avoid is panic. You don't want to panic. And while most people have this sense of urgency, like, damn, I have to do something. Oh my God, they just broke up with me. I need to do something. That is an illusion. You don't have to do something. Because more often than not, what you feel like you need to do is going to be a wrong choice. Okay? Now, it is an illusion that you feel compelled to do in order to not lose them. Now, you're thinking like, if I don't do anything now, they broke up with me. If I don't do anything now, he or she will go out and hook up, or maybe get into a relationship, or maybe he or she might find somebody different, maybe find someone better than me, right? It's like this scarcity type of mindset. Now, while most of us think we don't have a lot of time, like, damn, like they broke up with me, I don't have a lot of time, I have to do something in order to get that person's attention. We think that. It sounds very counterintuitive, right? But relationship after a breakup, it needs a lot of time, and it requires a lot of time. And it's too often we watch, like I said before, it's like we always watch a lot of movies where it teaches us to do otherwise, right? Where you get two ends of the spectrum, which is, number one, we have to convince the other person that we're worthy of the relationship. So you're constantly bombarding them, like they need time and space away from you, and you're like, no, I need to get you back, I need to do this, I need to try to do something. Or which is the other end, where they're like, well, if he or she really wanted to be in this relationship, they would not have left. They wouldn't have left. And it's like, you could see this spectrum of extremes. But what about the middle part? What about the middle? And how do you find that healthy balance where you allow them to be free? How do you find that, right? While both of these fall into the extremes, it is important to let your partner know what you want and what you don't want. What's up, Tracy? It is very important to let your partner know what you want and what you don't want after you got dumped. So if you were the one that got dumped, and you're like, well, I didn't want this, it is very important to let them know that this is not what you want. Okay? So, and if you don't want this breakup, but they do, they unilaterally, they're saying, hey, you know what? I want to change the term of this relationship. I don't want to be with you anymore. You must let them know. You must let them know. This isn't what I want. You want to break up, or, you know, ladies, you guys like to use this, let's just be friends. Let's just be friends. I don't want to be with you anymore. Let's just be friends. AKA a nice way of saying I don't want to be with you anymore. AKA a breakup, right? You let them know, no, I want to be in a romantic relationship. I'm not signing up to be platonic friends. And whereas most people, like most guys, especially since 70 to 75% of women are the one that initiates breakups and divorces, most guys would just agree to that, thinking that, hey, as long as I stay and I'm around, she might change her mind. It's like, no, the best negotiating position is to walk away and mean it. And so in this situation, I want a romantic relationship. I don't want to be friends. I don't want to break up. What you could suggest is, hey, look, if you want to break up, that's fine. Or you just say, or she says, oh, I just want to be friends. Well, we could be friends with benefit. Maybe if that's what you want, right? We could be friends with benefit, but I'm not signing up for just being friends. What's up, Tim? So you, like in any negotiation, you wouldn't sign up for anything that you don't agree with. Am I right? So now if they say something along the lines of, let's just say she says, let's just be friends. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be friends. I want to be in a romantic relationship with you. I don't want to be platonic friends. And if she's very adamant, like, no, we should just be friends. We could be friends with benefit, but I don't want to just be your friend. That's not what I signed up for. And then maybe she goes and try to flip it on you, and she'd be like, oh my God, it's sex all you think about? Do you only think with your head down below your waist? Is that all you think about? Don't panic. Stay calm, cool, and collected. That's where masculine energy flourishes, right? So stay calm and say, well, I'm not the one that wants a breakup. I'm just suggesting. But I'm not going to sign up for something that I don't agree with. So now you're putting your foot down. Now, if you have kids and you live in the same home, well, guess what? If she's the one that wants to leave that relationship, she will have to pack her things and go. A king never leaves his kingdom. You don't leave your kingdom. Okay? You stay in your home, and you're going to have to let her know that, like I said, if you have kids, you're going to have to let her know. You're going to have to let the kids know that mommy wants to leave, and you have to tell her why you're leaving. You have to let them know that why you're tearing this family apart. You have to let them know. Because I'm not the one that's signing up for this. You are. You're saying that I am not worth another shot. In other words, so that isn't what I want. You let her know that isn't what I want. I love you. I care about you. I want to work things out with you. And then you let her know. Call me if you ever change your mind. Just let me know. Call me if you ever change your mind, but I am not interested in platonic friendship or just platonic. That's not what I want. And then you walk away. Because if you don't implement time and you don't implement space, you're going to push them further away into the hands of another person. Okay? Now, this usually, there's a reason why he or she is breaking up with you. And usually what happens in all breakups, majority of the time, it's a loss of attraction, and which is going to be my next slide, which is you got to change yourself first. So if she wants to break up with you and she doesn't want to be with you anymore, sure. Okay. She's made up her mind. Maybe she's giving you one too many chances. Maybe you said you would change 2 to 3 times, and each time that you said you were going to change, you didn't change. So what does that mean? There's inconsistencies and you're flawed. There's inconsistencies. Hey, I won't stop yelling at you so much. And then something doesn't go your way. You start yelling and screaming. Maybe you got a little bit better, but it's not enough for her to change. Chances are you haven't changed enough. So there has to be some sort of accountability on your end. So slide number 2, you got to change yourself first. Now it's time to change. What's good? What's going on? Now it's time to change. If you're the one who got dumped, it is almost certain that it is because there was a loss of attraction towards you. Chances are there's a loss of attraction. Something you've done or did not do is not causing your partner to feel emotionally connected with you or as emotionally connected with you. There's a loss of attraction. Now, through physical attraction, physical attraction is important. It is usually it is the emotional distance that they're feeling that will cause your partner to basically turn the other cheek. They don't want to be around you no more. It's a loss of attraction, right? And one of the quickest way, it's not and I didn't say fast, okay? It's not going to be fast. The quickest way to get somebody else to change is to change yourself. That's the number one that's the quickest way. How? By building yourself up. By learning, filling in your knowledge gap, understanding how attraction works, understanding how relationship works. Learn how to be a better communicator. Well, what does communicating mean? It's like there's so many things that you can improve on. Whether it's listening, maybe your tone, maybe you're emotionally unstable. They feel like they're walking on eggshells all the time. Maybe you're always yelling and screaming. It's like, well, a lot of these things is causing that person to not see you in this type of light anymore. They don't want that. And so change yourself first. The quickest way to get anybody else to change their mind is to change yourself. That's the quickest way. Okay. So whether or not you're trying to get your ex back or for your future relationships, there must be some sort of accountability on your end. If they lost attraction, there has to be some sort of accountability on your end. Now, maybe they cheated, okay? If they cheated and they're like, damn, I like this person more, well, that's not your job to try to change that person. If they're gonna cheat, they're gonna cheat. Your job in a relationship is never to try to change anybody. Your job is to improve on yourself so that you can find a good person that you could share each other's completeness with. Now, you could justify all you want. But something you did caused this little dip in attraction. There's some accountability on your end, okay? So you can complain that your partner isn't great at communicating, or he or she never did this or never did that. But even if you got someone that is a 10 out of 10, and I'm talking about in the looks department, in the personality, 10 out of 10, right? It is not going to be long for that other person to leave you for somebody else. You could say, as long as it's related to this topic. So take a step back. You want to take a step back and think about all the things that he or she has been telling you during this time. So take a step back and then ask, did I make sure she feel heard and understood? Did I date her and court her properly? Because most of the time, most relationships fall apart because you stop dating and courting her and she stopped feeling heard and understood. So usually it starts with emotional type of cheating because they, especially with women, they feel a little bit more connected emotionally. And that is usually, once their mind opens, guess what else opens? Their leg opens, right? So you make her feel heard and understood, the legs open. If she doesn't feel heard and understood, the legs will close and you're not going to get access to that box, okay? And if you do everything correctly, your woman will want that more than you could even give, okay? She's gonna want you more. Thank you, appreciate it, Moomin. Thank you. Now, also, if you're the guy that got dumped, and most of the time it's usually the guy that gets dumped, usually, okay? You want to ask yourself this too. Am I too relationship focused? Because if you're too relationship focused as a guy, you're displaying a lot of feminine energy. And I'm not saying don't care about the relationship. You should absolutely care about her feelings. You should definitely care about how can I make this relationship flourish. But more importantly, you have to be focused on your mission and your purpose. What's up, Bree? So that's feminine energy. You allow her to just worry about the bonding and the connecting, okay? Now, if you're the masculine figure, right? You wanna ask yourself, am I focused on my mission and purpose? There has to be a lot of inner work and there has to be a lot of outer work to be done in order to implement some sort of change. Yeah, you don't do that when you're married, no matter how bad things goes, unless the guy is abusing his wife. Anyone that puts their hand on anybody, they need to go. Ace Wolf Peach, I would love to understand from your perspective. Let me know, how am I not masculine? Please share love. All right, so okay, there has to be a lot of inner work and a lot of outer work in order to implement change. So you got to go back out there. You got to fall back in love with yourself and understand, because you can't give what you don't have. Now, with your hobbies and your interests, you must go back. You got to get back in shape. You got to be fun and exciting. You got to be that person that loves yourself again. You have to create excitement that's genuine and meaningful, because if you're not excited about your life, it is really difficult to get somebody else to be excited about yours. Too many men nowadays show too much emotions like a woman. Yeah. Now, it really depends on how you know how to display those. How do you display it? Does it come from a place of strength or does it come from a place of weakness? that is going to be huge. Because look, there's going to be setbacks. I think what's more important is that as you're showing this, you're not saying that, damn, this is gonna knock me down and I'm not gonna get back up. So understanding the difference between a setback and a failure is really, really important, because a woman doesn't mind you having a setback. Everybody fails from time to time. It's how you get yourself back up and continue on. That is the difference of a setback and a failure. A failure is, I didn't succeed and I stopped trying to become better. That is when you fail. And that's where most people fail. Like Ace right now. He just complaining. He doesn't even want to understand. He or she, I don't know, and I don't care. But this person just doesn't understand. They don't understand. So it's like, there's really no point. You're not making any solid understand. You have weak arguments, so it's not even worth my time. But I am gonna block you eventually if you're gonna, if you keep this up. All right. So your mindset has to change. This has to change, and it is a must. Okay. The goal isn't trying to get your ex back. Your goal is to try to become your most attractive self again, so you become attractive as a person. How about narcissism, women? Facts. Yeah, buddy. So part of being a person of value, you have to understand how to properly vet people. You just have to properly. Do you know how to vet your people in your life? Because the average of the 5 people, that's how you're going to act. If you hang around with losers, well, guess what? If you hang around with 5 losers, you're gonna be the 6th. So who do you really hang out? Who do you hang out with? That's the most important thing. So by changing your mindset, by changing your environment, because if you start by changing your mindset, a lot of things starts to change for yourself. And if you hang out with people that parties and drinks all the time, and they don't really do a lot to improve on themselves, they don't really have great relationships, they get upset about all the little things. Like people that get upset constantly, that don't have anything good to say, they will always be in a bad mood. And that's usually a projection of how they feel about themselves, right? So, I mean, Ace is a prime example of being a weak person right now. The difference is small people, some people notice change, some change and some won't. Well, your goal isn't trying to change anybody. Your goal is to change yourself so that you can attract the right person into your life. Now, if you want to just be a piece of shit all the time and just sit in your room and complain, you could do that too. But my channel is for people that want to become extraordinary, right? You want to have an exceptional life, not for people that wants a mediocre life. And we have one prime example right now, right? So the goal, like I said, the goal isn't trying to get your ex back. Your goal is to try to become your most attractive self again. By doing this for yourself, maybe in the back of your mind, you're like, damn, I still want to get my ex back. Sure, fine. By all means, that could be your motivation, right? But the most important thing is that you have to put value back into your life. Because in essence, the other person is saying, this is what they're saying when they broke up with you, right? They're saying that I don't find you valuable, or I find you less attractive, so I'm gonna be letting you go. There's no other reason why they will want to leave you. Okay? They find you less attractive. Maybe it's a logistical type of issue. Maybe you guys don't align in same goals or similar goals and similar values. You just didn't vet properly. So that happens too. So your job as a person is to vet your dating prospects. So most people could hide themselves for who they are for about at least 90 days. Okay. So now the main thing is they fell in love with you, the version of you. And as an individual, because if you're doing this just to get your ex back, how you act, how you talk, your demeanor, it comes across as desperate. Hold on, give me 1 second. All right, cool. Let's see. All right, so they fell in love with the version of you as an individual, because that is how you get your ex back. That is the more and bigger picture is this is how you become attractive again, by loving yourself, by taking care of yourself, mentally, physically, spiritually. Like I said, you could be religious, okay? People are religious. I'm not here to tell you how you're supposed to live. If you want an extraordinary life, if you want to be happy and you want an extraordinary life, this is how you do it. People that complain, that talks a lot of smack, that don't really have any type of valuable things to offer, what can they really offer, right? So now, and you might be able to hide it. But if the reason that you're changing isn't really for you, then it's really not for you. You might get attainable success, but you're not going to get any type of sustainable success. Okay, you might get some sort of success. But the most important thing is to understand that there's a cognitive dissonance, and the difference between that is by understanding it. The cognitive dissonance is the discomfort of a person that feels when their behavior does not align with their goals and values, right? Your values and your beliefs are a little bit different. Now, if you do this for you, you're in essence become more of a problem solver. So instead of complaining all the time, now you're more effective. You're more attractive. You become more of a catch. Attraction is not a choice. So when you become more attractive, guess what's going to happen? More people will want you. Naturally, you become more scarce. And there's not a lot of great people out there. You're always going to have more people that's willing to talk a lot of smack than you get good people. Because usually those people are the ones that likes to project how they feel about themselves. And they don't really care about themselves. They don't really love themselves. It's more common terms and explain cognitive dissonance. Basically, it's the things that it doesn't align with your goals and your beliefs, your values. It doesn't really align. So when you have that, and I'm not a psychologist, all right, but I'm just giving you like the baseline fundamentals of it. It's like if it doesn't align, basically it's gonna start eating yourself inside out a little bit, and you just start feeling a little bit distant, and you're like, that this is not who I am. Okay, so now it is really important to write down, what do you want? Instead of thinking that life is over and I will never find anyone, focus on the outcome of becoming better and attracting someone better into your life. Because the most important thing is whatever you focus on expands. And so if you focus on talking a lot of smack, or you're focusing on, hey, I can't get anybody, well, guess what? You're probably going to attract that into your life. Now, how can you build back attraction? How? Number one is your physical. So your physical appeals. Number one, it's easy, right? It goes away pretty fast. And it's usually the first one to go, but it's the first one to get. And in terms of physical attraction, it's great because it displays a lot of discipline on yourself. So you do this because you want to take care of your body. Why wouldn't you take care of your body? Most people, they eat like shit. They don't work out. They eat processed food all the time. And I'm not saying that you can't go out there and have a good time. What I am saying is majority of the time, what are you doing? Okay, what are you feeding yourself? On top of that, you want to make sure that your mental and your intellectual, how well are you filling in your knowledge gaps, right? Humans, we're attracted to the process rather than reaching the goal itself. So we love making progress, and what better way to do it than to educate yourself and learn from that has done it before, that had success, that had great people in their life. Or you could just maybe listen to your friends that have horrible relationships, and maybe you might get lucky with one of those advice. But there are people that have done that. Let me see. is it not important to see value in yourself before? Absolutely. You have to have some sort of. So, the greatest relationship works are the ones that have similar goals and similar values. So, an example is some simple example. If you want kids and they don't, well, what makes you think that staying in that relationship will change their mind? So if your goal is trying to get into the relationship thinking that I'm going to change this person's mind, you're not going to really, don't be upset if they don't. So, or it's like, maybe you got into this situationship and you just want to have fun and hook up. You didn't want to be in an exclusive relationship. So maybe you guys been quote unquote just together but never exclusive for about a year or even 2 years, whatever. And you never wanted to be in a relationship. And you told them explicitly, this is not what I want, but they still stuck around. Well, whose fault is that? Especially if you told them. So in the beginning, it is very important to state what you want in a relationship before you get into one. So there are people that have like some crazy things. They'll be like, look, I could be with you, but you cannot have a single guy friend. And hey, you know what? Does that sound a little crazy? Does it sound like he's insecure? He could be not. It doesn't really matter. But the most important thing is that's what he wants. I don't want, and I've heard it before. I was like, that sounds a little extreme, but hey, by all means, people live how they want to live. If they don't want to be in a monogamous relationship, well, if you're stuck around, that is your choice. That is your negotiation. You agree to those terms. No, I already got all my Pokemon out. So let's see. You can see your value. So you want, majority of the time, whenever we watch movies, we precondition ourselves by watching these movies by understanding like, oh my God, I have to do something in order to get her attention. I have to do this or I have to do that. And more often than not, you don't really have to do a whole lot of things. You just have to take a step back and understand like there are steps to this in order to get that person's attention. And then you're also judging them based off their interest level. It's like, well, why would you want to be with somebody that has no interest in you? You gotta be real. I support that idea simply because you don't want your partner to feel insecure about themselves. Well, everybody has a right to their own opinion. If they be like, well, you can only have one friend or you can't go out. It's like, hey, if I get in a relationship, like there are some people out there, they'll be like, look, if I get into this relationship, you can't ever go out ever again. You're stuck with me. It's like, well, if that's what they want, are you going to sign up for that? So it's really your beliefs and values. Does it align? Hey, if you're totally down, hey, you know what? Maybe you're in love with this person. You're like, shit. And you're a girl, you're watching this, you're like, damn, I really like this guy. And he wants to make sure that I have no guy friends. You could be like, yeah, you know what? Screw my guy friends. I don't care. I just want to be with you. But now, maybe you met someone that's cool and he's a guy. And then later on down the line, he was like, hey, yo, why are you talking to this dude? Oh, he's gay. Don't worry about him. He's like, no, I said no guy friends. No guy friends. You signed up for that. Am I right? So that was a communication. And most guys, they're, what makes them less attractive is that they're very inconsistent. They're very inconsistent. They're incongruent. The one, I don't have no guy friends. The ones that were just want to. Yeah, and that happens. You know, that happens. Like we fall in love. Like we don't even need to. Like guys, we fall in love with our eyes. Women, they fall in love with their ears. So, anyways, physical, mental. You just want to make sure you're filling your knowledge. Yeah, you want to take care of yourself physically. Now, emotionally, this is how a relationship could flourish, or it could be your greatest downfall. Nothing screams more child more like this than an adult that doesn't learn how to control their emotions. If you don't know how to behave nicely, like say for example, when a kid throws a tantrum, what are you gonna say? Most of the time we're gonna be like, well, this kid He's being a kid. You know, he's throwing a tantrum. He's crying, screaming, kicking. But what happens when an adult does that? Same exact thing. Maybe he's not kicking and screaming, but he's complaining a lot. And all you do is bitch and moan and complain. What do we call them? We call them immature. We can be like, dude, that person's hella immature. Like, this person's whack. We don't want to be around that. You know, it's killing our vibe. It's like, this person's not fun, right? Now, part of growing up is about learning how to be emotionally regulated. So, emotional maturity. So, not everything is going to go your way. Life isn't fair, but that's okay. Everybody starts a little bit different. Some people are taller. Some people have better physiques. It's genetics. You can't really control that. But the things you can control, well, guess what? You should focus on those. So, maybe don't eat processed food so much. Start going to the gym. Start taking care of yourself physically. Start learning. Start reading books. You don't have to learn from me. There's plenty of other people. You know, like there's millions of, like, if you think my thing is whack, you could be I'd be like, dude, you could listen to Red Pill Community. Like you could be against women. You could do that too. It's really up to you. Now, what I've noticed for myself is that when I watch certain things like the Red Pill Community, there are some truths to what they say. You know, women do follow what their status. That is very true. But they get angry at women instead of fixing themselves. So that's the thing I don't align with. I'm like, I get it. There are shitty people out there, both men and women. And since you get this Red Pill Community, I get it. You get a community full of hateful men that are angry men that hates women because they're all like this and there's nothing great. It's like, well, have you ever looked at yourself and maybe you thought to yourself, maybe you're not that great too. Maybe you kind of suck a little bit. Maybe you could learn if you stop being so damn arrogant and blaming women all the time and take a step back and improve yourself. And once you start doing that, you won't have to be that person complaining. You're going to be attracting a lot of great people in your life. So, and then, well, guess what? You lose a part of that community. People that once you thought was your friend, they're not really like so tight with you anymore. Well, guess what? Because your mindset changed. You started wanting more. It's like poor people getting upset at rich people getting richer. Well, you know what? You could learn some things too, and you could like, what kind of service are you providing? Are you learning how to solve people's problems? The bigger the problem, the more money you could get. So it's how well you can solve problems. How can you solve this pain factor? So the value that you bring to the market is like that's how you get paid. You could someone could get paid $15 an hour. But the next person could get double that. And the next person could get triple that and quadruple. So it's how much value you bring to yourself. Let's see. Some people switch up after you're already well into the relationship. Well, that screams incongruency. And so when you're incongruent, that means you're not genuine. You weren't being yourself. So what does that tell you about that person? That you shouldn't have been with that person. So yeah, maybe you might have to take a step back and be like, you know what? I have to blame myself. It's like, well, what kind of red flags did I overlook? I've dated a cheater before. I'm like, damn, like, they were like, Mitchell, man, it's all good. Like, that person's a cheater, you know, once a cheater, always a cheater kind of thing. I was like, yeah, but I was like, I can't help but to feel like I have some sort of responsibility of some sort of accountability. Like, I allowed this person in. Well, you didn't know. I was like, yeah, well, I didn't know in the beginning. It's not like people are walking around saying I cheat, right? But then it's like, well, what were some of the red flags? What were some of the red flags that I overlooked? Oh, well, like, she always hung out late at night. Well, this is when I was a lot younger too, right? She always hung out late at night with her friends. Okay. Well, people can't hang out with friends. No, absolutely they could. It's like, but your goal is to find yourself, vet them properly, see if they align with your similar goals and similar values. Are they fun? Are they easygoing? I don't want to be around someone where I have to wake up next to every single morning and they're causing me problems. Like, I would rather be single. Most people will rather be single. But if a great person comes into your life, why wouldn't you want a great person that makes your life easy, makes it easy going, easy to get along with? Life is already difficult enough. Why would you want, especially the person that you see every day, to make your life miserable? You know what I mean? So I don't align with anything that social media popularizes and makes trends. So hear you on that. Hope you know some people should butt out of other people's business. Well, there's a lot of people that projects how they feel about themselves onto other people. So like, have you ever seen someone, or maybe not you, maybe you had some sort of success, and then maybe you had a change of thought and you're like, you know what, I want to change. I know firsthand experience. The moment where I decided that I wanted to eat healthier, I want to exercise, I want to take care of myself, I want to do things that makes me excited, that lights me up inside, that makes me happy. Other people had something to say about it. Oh, that doesn't make you enough money. Oh, this doesn't do this. Oh, this doesn't do that. Where do you think you're going to go with this? How is that going to... And then everybody has different values. Some people place money. I place what I do before money, because after that, everything will just come naturally. If you love... Just think about it, right? Take a step back and think about it. If you love what you do and you're always going to do it no matter what, you're going to always get back to it, and you're obsessed with it to a point where you're like, damn, this is the first thing you think about when you wake up, and that's the last thing that's on your mind. Naturally, you're going to get good at it, and you're going to spend more time because you're going to be better at it. Well, guess what? Guess what's going to happen? You're going to be exceptional at it. And when you become exceptional at things, people, they don't see that this is what you do. They be like, this is who you are. So naturally, they're going to want to be around you. Like, hey, you know what? You have something that I would love to possess, or even an ounce of that. So how do I get to where you're at? Now, that is how I see things. Some people, they be like, shit, I want to do things that makes the most money, whether it is legal or not. That's up to them. That is on them, okay? I follow what I want to do. I live my life. I don't tell other people how they live their lives. Now, the last one is spiritual, okay? I know I kind of lingered on that, but spiritual. So although this is the main one that's like, it's really for you, this holds a closer place to your heart, or should, otherwise it wouldn't be really that spiritual, right? So they, which is your ex or other people, they need to know that you're going to be congruent with this. It's very important. Spiritual and emotional intelligence is usually the last thing that people see. But the more important thing is that it is everything that's for yourself. It's everything for yourself. So the most important thing is that it's how you view yourself. Because a lot of people, they walk around, and they tell stories about themselves that they don't align with. They tell stories about themselves that they don't align with. They're not really excited about anything. Like I said before, it's really difficult to get somebody else excited about you or with you if you're not even excited about yourself. And if your only excitement is to elicit some sort of response, and maybe you just like saying mean things to people, by all means, do that. You're not going to get very far in life. You might get somewhere, but you might not get very far. Most people project. And if most people project, do you want to be where the majority of those people are? Or do you want to be your own leader in your own life? Nobody should ever bash on their ex. But to some extent, most people, they kind of talk down on them a little bit, especially if you're the one that had to leave them. But someone wants to chat. But if someone wants to chat, I would defend myself. Yeah, and only a fool will only listen to one side of the story. There's always two sides to the story, right? And then the third, which is the truth. So you really have to understand, it's like, well, what is going on? What is the other story? What is the other story, right? Now, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. You got to take care of yourself, because once you're good over here, you're going to naturally just going to attract great people in your life. And if you wake up in the morning and you're always like filling yourself with things that's unnecessary, I'm not saying that it couldn't be relevant, but it's unnecessary. Like, to me personally, I don't really watch the news. I get it. There's bad things happen. And if it affects me, like, oh, hey, you know what? Don't take this freeway because there's an accident. Okay, bad things happen. Bad things happen to people all the time. And bad news always travel much quicker than good news. And so I have to really be careful. I have to stand every day, to the Jim Rohn's quote, every day stand guard at the door of your mind, because whatever you pour in to your mental factory is basically what you're going to put out. And so if I'm always constantly listening to people like, oh, this person's going to do this, and I'm always going to live life based on fear. And I'm not saying go outside, be naive now. What I am saying is whatever you focus on expands. So if you're always focusing on talking down on somebody, well, what does it really say about yourself? If you're always just thinking about, damn, how my thing is, it's like, how well can I help serve another person in need of my advice or help? That way I become more of a problem solver rather than a complainer. You have to move on. Absolutely. And it's like, I could talk about this for days, and this is why I kind of limit my Saturdays to like a specific topic usually. But everything is interconnected. Most people that want to get in a relationship shouldn't be in a relationship. They should be working on themselves. But yet they fall into this category of, well, I need this relationship to be happy. Well, what happens when you're unhappy in that relationship? You're not only unhappy now you have to deal with this extra bullshit. So the line that I don't like is, especially in like Hollywood and stuff, like, it's you complete me. It's like, absolutely not. No, you should be in a relationship to share each other's completeness. That is how a relationship will flourish. That is how you benefit each other, not leaning on each other as in, oh, I need you in order to be happy. So another prime example is, most people, they go out on Fridays or Saturdays. They're like, damn, I can't wait. It's Friday. I get to party. I need this. I need to decompress. Sometimes I need to decompress too. But my mindset totally changed. I was like, well, Mitchell, why are you going out? Well, I want to go out because, I kind of miss my friends. I want to see them. It's been a minute. I haven't really hung out with them. It's always gonna be a great time. Do I need it? No, I don't need it, but I like to see them. So it comes from a much better place. Whereas some people are like, damn, I need to go out. I need a drink. I had a rough day. Like I said, we're still human. Sometimes those things happen. You kind of need to decompress and not worry about it. But if you constantly do that, well, what does that really tell you about yourself, right? If I'm not, you have to move on, and so do they. If I'm not talking about them, why is a complete stranger? Makes no sense. Are you single right? I can't pronounce your name. I don't even know how to pronounce your name. Ria? I totally butchered that. My bad. But anyways, most importantly, this will take time. This will take time and will need time. Part of loving another person is to make sure you love yourself first. That's the number one most important thing, is to love yourself first. Now, do you have to be so deep in love with yourself that like you can't allow another person in? Like, no, like there's a healthy balance between everything, right? So you have to love yourself first. You can't give what you don't have. So if you think you have a lot of love and you don't, well, guess what? Eventually you're going to be depleted, even though you feel like you have. So you have to love yourself first. Love yourself enough to walk away from situations that don't serve you, and trust yourself enough when given the opportunity again to love again, then you can love without losing yourself. Because a lot of people, when they get into a relationship, they attach their identity into the relationship. And I'm not saying that like that always happens or it never happens. It's that when people get into the relationship, oh, like this person's my other half. It's like, no, you're your own individual. I want you to take care of yourself. I'll take care of me for you, and you take care of you for me. That's the most beautiful thing that any loving and happy relationship could have. That's how it could flourish. How to get your ex back. But it deviates. This topic deviates. And the reason why it deviates is because most people online, if you were to understand like, oh, how do I get my ex back? That's only one side of the equation. It's like, well, what happens after you get them back? You're gonna keep doing the same thing until they finally realize that you're full of shit and they're not gonna want to be around you? Or you can listen to my advice and be like, well, you know what? Something I've done has caused a loss of attraction. And whatever that is, I need to understand that what is masculine and what is feminine energy. What is my natural essence? And which category do I fall more into? It's not to say that I'm masculine and I don't have any feminine energy. Absolutely not. I need feminine energy to understand, to make sure that the edges are not too sharp, basically. So that I could understand her language. And men who understands women, not only do they don't argue with them, men who understands women are loved by women. And so when you understand that, and you understand, hey, what's it like to get them excited? What's it like to make them feel heard and understood? How to communicate? Do you understand that most guys, they like to solve problems for a woman? When they're complaining, and they're like, why do you do this? It's like, well, you know what? Most of the time, I want to say most, about 95% of the time, when a woman's complaining, women solve the problems by talking about things. So what you should be doing as a guy, you should most of the time be listening. Be like, oh, is that right? Is that what happened? So when this happened, how did that make you feel? Like, so from what I'm understanding, what you're saying is this and that caused you to do that. Am I right? By saying that, you're basically letting her know you're listening. You're making her feel heard and understood. And you're like, wow. And then you empathize with her. You be like, I can see why that would get you upset. And don't try to fix the problem. And then eventually she'd be like, most of the time she'd be like, you know what? You know, maybe I was a bitch too. I might have said something. I was like, okay. So they solved the problem. I was like, okay, yeah. Just listen. Most of the time, if you listen and you understand what she's saying and woman needs, she solves her own problem. And guess what? She's gonna go out and tell all her friends and be like, yeah, my boyfriend or my husband is so great because he's a great listener. He really understands. Quick question for you from the UK. What is your question, Isaac? Do you believe in true love? Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, do I believe in the one? Probably not. Empathy versus... I'm 20 and single from the UK. I see. Anyways, not related. So, moving on to my summary. My summary, I usually just fill in a few parts. So, summary number one, slide number one is what not to do. The number one most important thing to avoid is to panic when you just got dumped. You don't have to panic. You just got to take a step back. Now, while most people will have a sense of urgency, it is the illusion that you feel like you have to do something, which my coach calls it an illusion of action, which you don't really need to do. You just got to take a step back, because most of the time, relationships after a breakup, it requires a lot of time. So I don't have to do anything now. You don't have to do anything now. Now, number two, you got to change yourself first. It is almost certain that it is because of a loss of attraction. Usually when most people break up with you, it's a loss of attraction. That's usually it. So something you did or did not do or lack of has caused that person to feel a little bit emotionally distant from you. Now, One of the quickest way to get anybody else to change is to change yourself. I didn't say it was fast. It's going to take time. It's going to take months, if not years. Okay, depending on how serious you want to take yourself. That is most quickest way to get somebody else to change is to change yourself. Slide number 3 is your mindset. You're going to have to put value back into yourself. That's the number one most important thing. By changing your mindset, you're placing the value back into yourself. Now, the goal isn't to try to get your ex back. I know you're here and you're like, damn, Mitchell, isn't this topic on how to get your ex back? Yeah, but you're looking at the bigger picture. You're not just looking at one fish in the sea. You're understanding that in order to be attractive again, you have to become your most attractive self. So what does it mean? It means that you got to take care of yourself by understanding, by taking care of yourself physically, but taking care of yourself mentally, emotionally. There's a lot of emotionally unstable people out there, and it is not your job to change them. None of the advice that I'm giving you is so that you could change another person. That person is who they're going to be regardless. Your goal is to change yourself. Most people don't want to change themselves. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. You gave up on love completely and choose. And now I'm married. See? Okay, actually not bad. Hold on, let me see. If you spent a little of time with someone though, and you break up, it's understandable you will be hurt. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying that you won't be hurt. And I'm not saying that there's no emotions involved. It's like, well, you have to love yourself enough to walk away from situations that really doesn't serve you. If that person's abusive, whether it's verbal, passive aggressiveness, like any type of emotional abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, any type of abuse, whatever you tolerate, you invite more of. So if you're gonna tolerate that constantly, don't be surprised that they're gonna do it again. So whenever something that comes up that doesn't align with you, you gotta let them know. And if you guys don't align in similar goals and similar values, it's gonna be really, really difficult to be in a relationship with somebody. And most people that are in relationships, they're not happy in a relationship. Why? Because they feel like they settled. And on top of that, they feel stuck. Maybe they got kids, maybe they got a mortgage, they have X, Y, and Z's, and they're giving a bunch of reasons as to why they can't just pick up and leave. Oh, I got kids. I got to make sure these kids have a mom and a dad. But yet mom and dad yells all the time. They fight, they argue. Well, guess what? How do you think your kid's going to grow up? They're going to be calm, cool, and collected people? Probably not. Maybe they might be if they got out of it and be like, damn, I never want to be like mommy and daddy always yelling. I don't want to have a bad relationship. I got to work on myself because now I got anger issues because all I see is yelling and screaming. So there's a lot of inner work. And I'm not saying just because you have people that did not show you a good example that you can't become a great person. What I am saying is that it's going to set you back a little bit, and it's going to require a lot of time and effort on your end to improve yourself. And it's how bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? You might not want to do anything. That's fine. Or maybe you're like, damn, I want a beautiful wife. I want kids. And not only do I want a beautiful wife and I want kids, I want to make sure that I have a loving relationship. Well, it requires a lot of work and it requires a lot of effort. And it's gonna require some sacrifice somewhere. It's gonna require some sacrifice. All right. So that being said, I appreciate you guys for coming in, and I'll catch you guys in 2 weeks. I'm not gonna be doing a live next week, so I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. If you guys have any questions, leave it in a comment below. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe. If you find this video content of value, you can show your appreciation by donating any amount that you feel is equal to the value of this video. And I'll catch you on the next one. All right. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.